My name is Noah Bennett, and for as long as I can remember, I've been the background character in my own family story. My older brother, Elias, was the one everyone pointed to when they talked about ambition, brilliance, and a future worth betting on. He was charismatic, articulate, confident, everything I wasn't. While I preferred quiet hours tinkering with early encryption systems and cybersecurity scripts, Elias was traveling for leadership conferences, winning business competitions, and collecting impressive internships like trophies. At every family dinner, the spotlight belonged to him. Elias is going to run a global corporation one day, my father would say proudly, while relatives nodded in agreement. My mother would add, he thinks in strategy, not shortcuts. He's built for power. If I mentioned the software tools I was developing or the clients quietly paying me for digital protection systems, the conversation would last maybe 10 seconds before returning to Elias's next milestone, Harvard Business School, an exclusive consulting internship, a venture capital mentorship program. By comparison, I was seen as the introverted tech guy who hadn't yet figured out how to turn his coding hobby into something meaningful. The irony was that by age 19, I was already generating six figures through private cybersecurity contracts, many for clients who would never admit publicly that their systems were vulnerable. By 22, I had developed a proprietary algorithm that prevented real-time data theft and ransomware attacks. A few international firms took interest, not publicly, but privately, quietly, through non-disclosure agreements. They didn't want competitors knowing they needed me. I didn't brag or explain any of this. I just worked, built, refined, and expanded. Meanwhile, Elias launched a flashy startup focused on disrupting digital retail ecosystems. The press loved it. Influencers praised it. Our parents nearly framed the newspaper articles. At every holiday gathering, Elias gave speeches about culture, vision, investors, and scaling. He'd pat my shoulder and say things like, "You'll find your lane someday, little brother," as if my life was a warm-up act for his main show. The only thing no one knew, not my family, not the media, not even Elias, was that the encryption layer protecting his entire company ecosystem was mine. His platform existed because of my security architecture. He never asked where it came from. He assumed it was just part of a software license. That moment, their pride, his arrogance, my silence, became the beginning of a decision that would eventually change everything. A few weeks after one of Elias's widely publicized product launches, we had a family dinner at my parents' house. The table was dressed like it was hosting royalty, crystal glasses, expensive wine, polished silverware. It was the kind of effort my parents reserved for milestones tied to Elias's career. Everyone was already seated when I arrived, and the conversation, unsurprisingly, revolved around him. He had just returned from a tech conference where he spoke on a panel titled "The Future of Scalable Innovation." My father retold every detail with the pride of a man who believed his legacy rested entirely on one son. I quietly took my seat, listening. At some point, my mother looked at me and asked, "So, Noah, are you still freelancing?" The tone wasn't curiosity, it was pity disguised as politeness. Elias smirked as if waiting for an entertaining but unimpressive update. "Yeah," I answered simply. "Still working in cybersecurity." Before I could say anything more, Elias cut in. "Cybersecurity? Or just fixing passwords for small businesses?" The table laughed. I forced a faint smile. "More advanced than that," I replied, though I already knew no explanation would matter. Elias took another sip of wine, leaned back confidently, and said, "See, Noah, passion projects are fine. But at some point, if you want to build something real, something scalable, you need investors, teams, structure, a vision that reaches beyond your laptop." He continued, making sure everyone heard. "You can't spend your whole life hiding behind code and calling it a career." My father nodded approvingly. "Exactly. That's why Elias is succeeding. He understands the market, the business world, the importance of partnerships. Elias shrugged, pretending humility while glowing from the attention. Then came the sentence, the one that shifted everything inside me. "One day, you'll stop pretending and join the real world," he said lightly. "Until then, your little tech experiments are just practice." Something inside me went still, not broken, just quiet and deciding. I didn't argue. I didn't defend myself. I didn't need validation from people who never asked to understand. Instead, I responded with the calmest voice I'd ever used. "Maybe," I said, meeting Elias's eyes. "Or maybe I'm building something you just can't see yet." He chuckled, dismissing it as naive optimism. The table moved on. But I didn't. That night, I drove home with a different kind of focus, not the kind shaped by achievement, but the kind born from clarity. Elias believed success was visible, loud, and praised. But he had no idea that sometimes the quiet ones aren't behind. They're ahead, strategic, intentional, and waiting for the right moment. And whether Elias realized it or not, that moment was coming. 3 months after that dinner, Elias's company exploded in popularity. The app was being praised for its unbreakable security and next-generation encrypted structure. Investors lined up. Media outlets ran headlines calling him a visionary. Every podcast, every panel, every interview, Elias bragged about his innovation and leadership. But the truth was simpler. His platform's survival depended entirely on my proprietary encryption system. Not a version inspired by it. Not a modified adaptation, the exact patented architecture I had quietly built years earlier. He didn't know because my licensing agreement was filtered through a holding company I created long before his startup existed. And because he never respected my work enough to pay attention, he never traced the source. The first time I realized how dependent his company was, I was reviewing one of my automated system reports, something I routinely monitored for all my clients. One alert stood out. High Volume Data Access Company, Axion Dynamics. Elias's company. At first, I thought it was a coincidence. Then I dug deeper. The system requests, the architecture, the cryptographic threading, all unmistakably mine. My software wasn't just supporting his platform, it was the backbone. Without it, the infrastructure would collapse within hours. A normal person might have confronted him immediately. But I didn't. Instead, I kept watching, quiet, patient, calculating. The more Axion scaled, the more my system carried its weight. By the time Elias closed his second major investment round, nearly $500 million, Axion wasn't just using my encryption, it was fully reliant on it. Investors praised its efficiency. Engineers bragged about its resilience. Elias walked on stages wearing confidence like a tailored suit, speaking about innovation he didn't understand and technology he didn't build. And the world applauded him. During one of his televised interviews, he made a statement that finally solidified what needed to happen. "Anyone can code," he said with a laugh, "but true innovation requires leadership, not just sitting behind a screen." The audience laughed with him. That same night, I received an email from one of Axion's lead engineers, urgent request. "We need an extension on the encryption contract, usage is expanding faster than anticipated. Please invoice for the renewal term." It was signed with urgency and respect, not because they knew who I was, but because they understood the value of the system. I stared at the message for a long time, not because I was unsure, but because the timing was perfect. Elias believed he built the empire. But the foundation, quietly, invisibly, belonged to me. And foundations, when removed, decide what remains standing. For the first time in years, I smiled, not out of revenge, but control. The story wasn't over. It was finally beginning. The breaking point arrived on a Thursday morning, quiet and ordinary, the kind of day no one expects to become a turning point. I was reviewing system analytics when an alert flashed across my screen. Critical breach attempt, Axion Dynamics, high risk. The system had stopped the intrusion automatically, but the severity meant something bigger. Axion was growing fast enough that cybercriminals were actively trying to dismantle it. Normally, I'd have optimized the firewall layer and reinforced the algorithms before anyone noticed. But that day, I didn't. Instead, I opened the licensing dashboard and reviewed the renewal terms that Axion's engineering team had requested. The contract was set to expire in 7 days. Without renewal, the encryption system would begin a fail-safe shutdown, a slow, methodical withdrawal of core protection layers. Nothing illegal. Nothing aggressive. Just the natural expiration of intellectual property rights. I didn't send a reminder. I didn't warn anyone. I waited. On day 5, Axion's senior engineer emailed again, this time with urgency. We need confirmation on renewal. System load is increasing. Approval needed ASAP. I let the email sit unanswered. By day 6, Axion's team escalated. A corporate attorney emailed, demanding clarity. An hour later, Elias himself finally reached out. Not to me personally, but through a generic company address as if speaking to a nameless supplier. Hey, we need this handled quickly. Our investors are expecting a platform stability report. Send over the new contract and pricing. Elias Bennett, CEO, Axion Dynamics. That was when I replied, not with a renewed contract, but with a calendar invite titled, Ownership and Licensing Review, Mandatory Attendance. The meeting was scheduled for the following morning at Axion's headquarters. When I walked into the sleek glass conference room, half the executive team was already there, looking tense. Elias entered last, confident but visibly irritated. He greeted me like someone greeting a junior technician. Glad you could make it, Noah. Let's get this sorted. I nodded, calm and steady. Before we discuss renewal, there's something you should know. I placed a folder on the table, documents, patents, ownership records, encrypted system maps. All tying my intellectual property directly to the foundation of Axion's technology. For a moment, the room was silent. Then Elias laughed, short, confused, defensive. So what? You wrote a base script. Our engineers expanded it. I met his eyes. No. What you call your platform is still running entirely on my proprietary system. Every user session, every encrypted transaction, every stored credential, my architecture. His smile faded. I slid one final document across the table. Transfer of ownership terms. Axion doesn't just use my technology, I continued. It is my technology. And now it's time we discuss what happens next. The room shifted. The balance of power was no longer silent. It was undeniable. The silence in that room lingered long enough for everyone to feel its weight. Elias's confidence had drained from his expression, replaced by confusion, defensiveness, and something that looked dangerously close to fear. His investors exchanged stiff glances, clearly aware that the foundation of their billion-dollar valuation wasn't innovation, it was dependency. After a long pause, he finally spoke. So what do you want, Noah? A bigger contract? A public thank you? His tone tried to sound composed, but the tremor beneath it betrayed him. I leaned back in my chair and kept my voice level. What I want, I said calmly, is accuracy and control of what I built. The lead investor cleared his throat, adjusting his glasses. Are you saying Axion has no proprietary claim on its encryption? I slid another document forward, the active license expiration timestamp. In 17 hours, I said, the system begins shutdown. Not instantly, ethically and legally, it phases out over 72 hours. Enough time for your users to manually reset their accounts, migrate their data, or transition platforms. One of the board members whispered a curse under his breath. Elias's jaw tightened. You can't just shut us down. I held his gaze, steady. I'm not shutting you down. Your company is free to continue. But it can't continue using my technology without acknowledgement, licensing compliance, and proper ownership structure. Elias stood abruptly, pacing as if searching for a loophole in a conversation that didn't offer one. So what now? He demanded. I slid the final envelope across the table. Now we renegotiate reality. Inside were two options. Option A, a renewed licensing contract with public recognition of authorship and ongoing royalties. Option B, a full intellectual property buyout, terms requiring Axion to merge under my cybersecurity firm with reassigned leadership roles and operational restructuring. Elias looked at the second page a long time before realizing exactly what it meant. You want my company, he whispered. No, I corrected gently. I want rightful alignment. You built visibility. I built the foundation. Neither of us has to lose, unless ego demands it. The room waited as Elias processed those words. For the first time in years, he wasn't performing for cameras, investors, or family expectations, he was confronting truth. Finally, slowly, he nodded. Option B, he said quietly. Not defeat, acceptance. The paperwork was signed that afternoon. It didn't make headlines, it didn't need to. Within months, Axion became more secure, more strategic, more innovative, because leadership finally matched reality. Our family eventually learned the truth, and the narrative shifted, not in arrogance, but in balance. Elias and I work side by side now, not rivals, but equals who finally understand each other's value. And the world? It still hasn't learned the real story. But that's fine. Some victories don't need applause. Sometimes the greatest power is knowing you never needed validation, only the right moment to step forward and claim what was already yours.